Everybody, it's Adam from LUCIDPIXUL, and today I wanted to have a talk with you about the subject, that hot topic called visual library. And you might notice as well that, for the sake of sacrificing a little bit of production quality, I decided to film this on my iPhone. And I'm actually walking in a little spot just outside my house that is my little kind of place to go in the morning. It's my morning walk, which is actually right outside my backyard, funny enough. But that being said, one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this, and especially to a lot of you beginners, a lot of you aspiring artists, people that are new to the industry, you might hear a lot of buzz going on about developing your visual library. The way it's being portrayed in the industry, especially I've noticed within the last, the last 5-6 years, has been very misleading. And the reason I know this is because I very often get approached by artists, many aspiring artists out there, asking me how to develop it, how to develop a visual library, how to develop that skill, as if it's an actual skill. And my answer to that is it's not a skill, it's a practice. And furthermore, it doesn't require you having to have been privileged and traveled a lot. It doesn't require you to have a perfect photographic memory, to be able to retain every finite detail of everything that you look at every day. It just requires you to research and actually analyze the world around you. If, let's say, you live in a place that doesn't have a lot of nature, you have the interwebs, right? Where you can go and research subjects. And that's the beginning of what a visual library is. Essentially what I would say a visual library is, and this is after doing this for about 20 years, is learning more and more every day the importance and the necessity to research and learn the subjects that you're drawing, to add more depth, to add more narrative, to add more believability. But I'm going to do a little something for you. Let's stop for a moment. Let me see if we can find a good camera shot in here. Okay, let's just stop like this and you can look at the vines behind me. Now if you're actually to stop for a moment and draw these trees behind my head, well, you immediately start to realize in this 3-4 square foot space, there's a lot of information, there's a lot of detail, there's a lot of color, there's a lot to learn in this little space right here. Imagine the amount of time that it would take you to retain all of this information, if you could at all retain all of it, which is almost physically impossible, right? And you start to get into that drawing, you start to get good at it, and then all of a sudden I do that. What does that teach you? It teaches you the fact that every single moment in life, every single thing that you look at is a brand new experience. That's a brand new painting with a brand new series of things to learn. That's a different set of trees, different set of leaves with different identity, okay? So if we put that in the context of real life, to have the ignorance or the conceit to think that you can remember every finite detail about nature itself is a fool's errand, isn't it? It's kind of like, it's impossible. It's physically impossible to do that. But instead it requires you to really closely analyze nature from close up. And when you do, you start to realize the beauty and the complexity of it. Last week, Chloe, my 5-year-old, approached me at one point with a partially finished drawing and asked me the question, Daddy, or at least asked me if I could show her how to draw a tree. And the artist and the teacher in me responded, well, look outside the window, there's lots of trees out there, or we can go for a walk, right? She goes, no, you don't understand, as 5-year-olds say. You don't understand, Dad. No, how do you draw trees the way you're supposed to draw them? Now I knew exactly what she meant when she said that. She was basically saying, how do I draw a tree the way I see my teachers and the way I see every other kid on earth draw them? 2 brown sticks for the trunk and the green afro top. And I refused to answer that question for her. And one of the main reasons why is because I knew that if I showed her that, I would be doing her a great disservice. I would be teaching her to see with her mind instead of with her eyes. And when it comes to developing a visual library, or more accurately, drawing from observation, careful observation, one of the most difficult challenges that we have as artists is to make that distinction between what we think we see and what actually exists. And just by looking at these trees behind me, you can realize that there's a lot to learn and there's a lot to observe. And every single time you sit down and draw a new thing, it requires a new set of research, a new knowledge. And a visual library, if anything, is just gaining knowledge of a subject by researching it when you're actually in the process of doing a painting. It doesn't require you to spend 15 years to develop a skill to get it to that level. It just requires you to always be conscious of the importance of researching your work. So with that said, I told her, no, I'm not going to show you how to draw a tree. Look outside the window and draw what you see. And she did. And she ended up drawing an absolutely beautiful tree. And she was very happy with it. And I was very happy about the fact that I did not lead her down that path of symbolizing everything that she looks at. The same thing applies to you. When you want to draw a new subject, if you want to work on a new subject, get to know that subject well. Research it constantly. In fact, what you end up doing, even in my line of work, which is a fantasy artist, everything that I draw is always rooted in reality. Anatomy, nature, anything organic that you can find, animals, creatures, whatever the case might be, everything is rooted in reality. Think about it. You are not somebody who's just, who you are and your body and your being and your mind is not a product of the number of years that you've been living on this planet. Everything that you are is a result of millions of years of evolution. Your anatomy, your bones, your muscles, your nerves, your bloodstream, your cardiovascular system, everything that makes you who you are is a product of millions of years of evolution. You're an incredibly fascinating creature. You're an incredibly fascinating work of art. Thinking that you can capture that complexity and that beauty of the human form, sitting on your ass, staring at a blank page, is not the way to go about it. And if you think the human form is something special, look at nature. These trees, this landscape that we're looking at, if I can fix the exposure, is the product of billions of years of evolution. As long as the planet has been around, since nature has had the resources needed to grow, to evolve, it has existed. And in order to capture it properly, you have to spend less time thinking and more time looking. That's what building a visual library is. So hopefully you enjoyed this talk. Remember, if you're interested in the LucidPIXUL mentorship, you can check the description in the link below. Take care, everybody.